The diplomatic vessel Unity drifted silently through the darkness of space, its sleek hull reflecting the distant starlight. Captain James Reed stood on the bridge, his weathered face illuminated by the soft glow of the control panels. This was humanity's moment. First contact with an advanced alien civilization that had sent signals from the edge of the solar system. "Status report," Reed called out, his voice steady despite the tension that filled the air. "All systems normal, Captain," replied Officer Mike Davis from his station. "The alien vessel is maintaining position at the arranged coordinates." Reed nodded. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally found proof they weren't alone. The strange signals had been translated after months of work by Earth's best linguists. The aliens, calling themselves the Vex, had invited a human delegation to meet at Neptune's orbit. "Comms, open a channel," Reed ordered. "Let's say hello properly." The communications officer, Lisa Taylor, nodded. "Channel open, sir." Reed straightened his uniform and cleared his throat. "This is Captain James Reed of the Earth vessel Unity. We come in peace and friendship, representing humanity." The screen before them flickered, and for the first time, humans laid eyes on the Vex. They were tall, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer like metal. Their four eyes blinked in an unsettling pattern. "Greetings, humans," the alien spoke, its voice translated through the ship's computers. "We are pleased by your punctual arrival." Reed smiled diplomatically. "We're honored to meet you. We've brought representatives from Earth's sciences, arts, and governments to establish meaningful relations between our peoples." The alien tilted its head. "Yes, relations. We are eager to learn all about humans." Something in the way the creature spoke the word humans sent a chill down Reed's spine, but he pushed the feeling aside. First contact was bound to feel strange. "We've prepared a data package about Earth and our civilization," Reed continued. "With your permission, we'll transfer it now." The alien nodded. "Please proceed. We have prepared docking procedures for your vessel. We invite you aboard." Reed exchanged glances with his first officer, Tom Wilson. This wasn't part of the plan. They had agreed to initial communications only. "That's very generous," Reed replied carefully. "But perhaps we should continue our dialogue from our respective vessels until—" "We insist," the alien interrupted, its voice suddenly cold. "It would be impolite to refuse our hospitality." Before Reed could respond, the ship's sensors blared warnings. "Captain," shouted the tactical officer. "They're powering weapons, and I'm detecting 3 more vessels decloaking around us." Reed's training kicked in instantly. Shields up. Evasive maneuvers. The Unity lurched as it tried to pull away, but a bright beam of energy sliced through space, striking the human vessel. The bridge shook violently, throwing crew members from their stations. "Direct hit to our engines," Wilson called out. "We've lost 30% power." Reed gripped his command chair. "Return fire. Target their weapons systems only." The Unity fired defensive shots, but they seemed to barely affect the alien vessel. "Captain," Lisa called, her voice shaking, "they're broadcasting on all frequencies. It's not just for us. They're sending a message to someone else." Reed watched in horror as the translation came through. "Specimens secured. Initiating harvest. The humans are primitive but physically suitable. Full invasion can proceed as planned." "Get us out of here, now," Reed ordered. "Emergency jump." The ship shuddered as more hits landed. Alarms blared throughout the vessel as hull breaches opened in the lower decks. Through the viewport, Reed could see smaller craft launching from the alien vessels. "Boarding parties incoming," Wilson shouted. Reed made the hardest decision of his life. Abandon ship, all hands to escape pods, set the self-destruct sequence. As the crew rushed to evacuate, Reed downloaded all sensor data and the alien transmission to his personal device. Someone had to warn Earth. The escape pods launched in all directions, most immediately targeted by the alien vessels. Reed's pod, along with 3 others, managed to activate their emergency jump drives, experimental technology not meant for escape pods, but their only hope. As his pod hurtled through folded space, Reed watched through the small viewport as the Unity exploded in a brilliant flash, taking one of the alien ships with it. His last thought before unconsciousness took him was simple. Earth needed to prepare. This wasn't first contact. This was first blood. 3 weeks after the attack, Captain James Reed stood before the United Nations Security Council. His face was gaunt, his uniform hanging loosely on his frame. Of the 27 escape pods that launched from the Unity, only his had reached Earth. The others were either destroyed or missing in deep space. They called themselves the Vex, Reed said, his voice echoing in the silent chamber. And they see us as nothing more than resources to be harvested. The chamber erupted in voices, some frightened, others angry, a few disbelieving. The Secretary General raised her hand for silence. Captain Reed has provided all sensor data and recordings from the encounter, she said firmly. There is no room for doubt. We face an existential threat unlike any in human history. On the large screen behind Reed, images of the alien ships played, followed by the translated message about harvesting humans. The room fell silent again. How long do we have? Asked the representative from Russia, his face grim. Reed shook his head. Unknown. Based on their technology level, it could be months or years. But they're coming. That much is certain. The American representative stood. We need to form a unified defense force immediately. No more national armies. We need one Earth military. For once, there was no argument. Within hours, the resolution passed unanimously. The United Defense Initiative was born. Admiral Thomas Grant watched the construction of Earth's first true space battleship from the viewport of the orbital station. 6 months after the formation of the UDI, humanity's industrial capacity had been completely redirected toward defense. Impressive, isn't she? Asked Dr. Eleanor Wright as she joined him at the window. Grant nodded. The defiance first of her class. Wright was the UDI's lead weapons researcher, a brilliant physicist who had made breakthroughs that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. We've installed the new shield generators, she said. They should be able to withstand the Vex energy weapons, at least for a while. Grant turned to face her. A while isn't good enough, Doctor. We need absolute superiority. Wright smiled slightly. Then you'll want to hear about what we found in the Mariana Trench. She handed him a tablet with images of what looked like a massive ancient structure buried in the deepest part of the ocean. What am I looking at? Grant asked, frowning. Something that's been down there for at least 50,000 years, Wright replied. And it's not human in origin. Grant's eyes widened. You mean? We weren't the first intelligent species on Earth, Wright confirmed. And whoever they were, they left behind technology that makes the Vex look primitive. 6 months later, the world's leaders gathered in the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. The facility, nicknamed the Bunker, extended 10 miles into the Earth's crust. Reed, now a general and second in command of the UDI, stood with Admiral Grant as they presented the defense plan. Phase 1 is nearly complete, Reed explained. We've established orbital defense platforms around Earth and the major colonies on Mars and Europa. Grant took over. Phase 2 begins today. We're going dark. The Brazilian president leaned forward. Going dark. We're shutting down all outward-facing communications and power signatures, Grant explained. To any outside observer, it will appear that Earth has suffered a catastrophic event, perhaps a civil war or natural disaster. Reed nodded. Meanwhile, we continue building our forces underground and inside hollowed-out asteroids. Dr. Wright's team has adapted the ancient technology we discovered. We now have weapons and defensive capabilities that would have been unimaginable a year ago. On the massive screen, schematics appeared showing underground cities, hidden shipyards, and weapons platforms disguised as natural formations. "How long will this deception last?" asked the Chinese premier. "As long as necessary," Grant replied. "We estimate 3 to 5 years before we're ready to face the Vex on equal terms." The Japanese representative frowned. "And if they come before we're ready?" Reed and Grant exchanged glances. "Then we fight with what we have," Reed said simply. "But every day we buy ourselves increases our chances." The meeting continued deep into the night as humanity prepared for the greatest challenge in its history. Cities began the process of moving underground. Space elevators, hidden from orbital view, transported materials and people to the growing fleet. As dawn broke over a seemingly abandoned New York City, Reed stood on the roof of the UN building one last time. Soon, this would all be a false ruin, a decoy to fool the coming invaders. He looked up at the sky, thinking of his lost crew. "We'll be ready," he promised the stars. "And they'll regret ever finding us." 5 years passed. To the outside universe, Earth appeared dead, a once thriving planet now showing no signs of advanced civilization. Cities lay abandoned on the surface, carefully maintained to look like they had fallen to war or disaster. Radio signals had ceased. Orbital satellites drifted, seemingly inactive. But beneath the surface, humanity thrived and prepared. Dr. Eleanor Wright stood in her laboratory a mile beneath what had once been London. Around her, teams of scientists worked on equipment that would have seemed like magic just years ago. "Let's try it again," she told her team, nodding toward the test chamber. Inside the reinforced room sat a small cube, no larger than a child's toy. One of the scientists activated it remotely. The cube hummed softly, then lifted off the table. A sphere of energy expanded around it, distorting the light and air. Then, with a soft pop, the cube vanished. Seconds later, it reappeared on another table across the room. "Teleportation successful," announced the computer. "All molecular structures maintained at 99.98% accuracy." Wright smiled. The technology they had recovered from the ancient ruins had finally been understood. Humanity now had instant transportation technology, something they had seen the Vex use during the attack on the Unity. But that wasn't all they had achieved. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Admiral Grant inspected the newly completed battle station. Carved into a massive asteroid and hidden from external scans, Hammer Station housed the largest weapons platform ever built by human hands. "The main cannon is operational," reported Commander Paul Jones as they walked through the central control room. "One shot can take out a ship the size of the ones that attacked the Unity. Grant nodded, his face serious. "And the fleet?" 500 warships ready," Jones answered proudly. "Another 300 in final assembly." Grant stopped at the main viewport. Outside, hidden in the shadow of the asteroid, dozens of warships hung in formation. Each was equipped with the new shield technology and weapon systems derived from the ancient ruins. "And the special projects?" Grant asked quietly. Jones lowered his voice. "A Harbinger system is at 90% completion. Dr. Wright says it will be ready within 6 months. Grant allowed himself a small smile. "Good. Continue the drills. I want every crew member to be able to respond in their sleep." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Reed oversaw the training of the Earth Defense Force. 20 million soldiers trained in the most advanced combat techniques and equipped with powered armor that enhanced their strength, speed, and durability. Reed watched as a squad practiced boarding actions in a simulated alien vessel. Their movements were precise, coordinated, deadly. "They're ready," said Colonel Maria Lopez, his second in command. Reed nodded. "They'd better be. We only get one chance at this." Later that day, Reed met with the UDI Council in the Central Command Bunker. Representatives from all former nations gathered around the large table. The surface sensors detected an object entering the solar system yesterday. Reed announced, "It's small, probably a probe." The room tensed. After years of preparation, The moment was approaching. "Is it Vex?" asked the representative from the former United States. "We believe so," Reed confirmed. "It's using the same drive signature as the ships that attacked the Unity *. "Should we destroy it?" asked another council member. Admiral Grant, joining via secure hologram from Hammer Station, shook his head. "No. Let it observe. Let it report back that Earth is dead, that we destroyed ourselves. It will make the Vex overconfident." Dr. Wright, also present via hologram, nodded in agreement. "Besides, we can track its communications. We'll know exactly what they learn and what they report back." The council discussed the final preparations. Underground cities now housed the entire human population of Earth. Mars and Europa colonies had been similarly hidden. The fleet was ready. The weapons were ready. Humanity was ready. As the meeting ended, Reed stood alone in the command center, watching the main display that showed the Vex probe slowly moving through the solar system. "Come and see what we've become," he whispered. "You wanted to harvest us. Now we're the hunters." On another screen, live feed showed millions of soldiers standing at attention in vast underground hangars, waiting for the order. Warships hovered silently in hidden docks, and in secret laboratories, weapons of unimaginable power waited to be unleashed. The silent years were ending. The storm was approaching, and humanity was no longer prey. The Vex probe drifted silently through the ruins of what had once been New York City. Its sensors scanned the crumbling buildings, the empty streets, the abandoned vehicles covered in years of dust. No signs of active technology, no heat signatures of living humans, just silence and decay. In the command center 10 miles beneath the old city, General Reed and his team watched the probe's movements through hidden cameras. "It's scanning the power plants now," reported Lieutenant Ben Parker, eyes fixed on his monitor. "All systems are maintaining cold status." Reed nodded. The power plants had been carefully prepared to look like they had failed catastrophically years ago. In reality, humanity now drew its energy from fusion reactors buried deep underground and shielded from detection. "What about our friends in orbit?" Reed asked. Colonel Lopes brought up another display. "The probe has deployed 3 smaller drones that are scanning the planet. One is examining our dead satellites. Another is over Europe. The third is scanning the Pacific for any underwater activity." Reed smiled slightly. "And finding nothing, I assume." "Nothing but what we want them to see," Lopes confirmed. "We're feeding them subtle radiation signatures consistent with a nuclear exchange about 4 years ago." Reed turned to Dr. Wright, who had arrived from her lab the previous day. "And our tracking systems?" Wright tapped on her tablet, bringing up a new display on the main screen. "We're capturing and analyzing all the probe's transmissions. Their encryption is complex, but we've made good progress." The screen showed strings of alien symbols with partial translations below. "The key phrases we've deciphered so far," Wright explained, "include planet devastated, no detectable civilization, and resource extraction possible." Reed's expression darkened. "They still plan to strip mine Earth, even thinking we're gone." "It gets worse," Wright continued. "They're also noting biological samples, scarce but present. They've found evidence that some humans might have survived. They're considering a collection operation." The room fell silent. The Vex weren't just coming for Earth's resources. They were coming to hunt down any surviving humans. "How long until the probe completes its survey?" Reed asked finally. "At current rates, 3 more days," Lopes answered. "Then it will likely return to wherever it came from." Reed nodded. "Maintain silent status. Let's see what else we can learn." 2 days later, in the hidden shipyard orbiting Jupiter's dark side, Admiral Grant received the latest update from Earth. "The probe is getting bolder," said the communications officer. "It's landed in several locations to take soil and water samples." Grant frowned. "Have they detected any of our facilities?" "No, sir. Our shielding is holding. They've passed within 2 kilometers of the Atlantic base entrance without registering anything unusual. Grant relaxed slightly. Humanity's greatest advantage was surprise. They needed to maintain it at all costs. "And the tracking beacon?" he asked. Dr. Wright's team successfully attached it to the probe during its landing in the Amazon region. It's undetectable by their sensors. We'll be able to follow it all the way back to their fleet. Grant nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. Prepare a secure communication to all fleet commanders. I want everyone on standby alert." On the 7th day, the probe finally began its departure from Earth. It collected its smaller drones and accelerated toward the edge of the solar system. In the command center, Reed, Wright, and the UDI Council watched its progress. "It's sending a large data package," Wright reported, "much bigger than its previous transmissions." "Can we decode it?" asked the Council chairman. Wright nodded. "Portions of it. It's a detailed report about Earth's condition." She paused, reading the incoming translation. "They believe we destroyed ourselves in a global war. They're reporting that Earth is now ripe for harvesting, with minimal resistance expected from any survivors." Reed's jaw tightened. "They're coming for what's left of us." "How soon?" someone asked. Wright studied the data. "Based on the communication protocols and response patterns, I'd estimate 3 to 6 months before their main fleet arrives." Reed turned to address the Council. "It's time for Phase 3. We know they're coming. We know what they expect to find. And we know they won't be ready for what actually awaits them." The chairman nodded gravely. "Send word to Admiral Grant. Begin final preparations." As the meeting ended, Reed stood before the main screen, watching the tiny dot of the probe disappearing into the darkness of space. "Go tell your masters we're dead," he whispered. "Tell them we're easy prey. And then lead them right to us." Behind him, on screens covering the wall, the status of humanity's hidden forces glowed green. Ready, waiting, hungry for revenge. The trap was set. Now they just needed the prey to take the bait. 2 months after the Vex probe departed, humanity's tracking beacon showed it had reached its destination, a massive fleet gathering at the edge of the solar system. The UDI Council met in emergency session. "They'll be here within a month," General Reed announced, his voice echoing in the vast underground chamber. "Sooner than we expected." Admiral Grant's hologram nodded grimly. "The fleet is ready. Our shipyards have completed the final vessels ahead of schedule." Dr. Wright stepped forward. "The Harbinger system is operational. All tests have been successful." The Council chairman looked at each of them. "Then it's time for the message." Reed nodded. "Yes, let them know we're waiting." For years, humanity have hidden in silence. Now, they would reveal themselves, but on their terms. In orbit around Mars, a special communications vessel powered up its systems. Built with technology reverse-engineered from the ancient ruins, it could broadcast a signal that would reach across the galaxy in minutes, not years. On the bridge, Communications Director Robert Lee prepared the transmission. "All systems ready," he reported to Reed and Grant, who watched via secure link. "Broadcasting on all frequencies in 3, 2, 1. The message began to transmit, first in human languages, then in the Vex language they had decoded, and finally in mathematical sequences that any advanced species could understand. Across the galaxy, communication systems on thousands of worlds suddenly received the unexpected broadcast from a planet thought to be either primitive or dead. On a trading world 50 light-years from Earth, an alien merchant's communication device suddenly activated. The merchant, a member of the peaceful Lorendi species, watched in surprise as a human face appeared on the screen. To all sentient species of the galaxy, the human began. "This is Admiral Thomas Grant of Earth's United Defense Initiative." The message continued, showing footage of the Vex attack on the Unity years before. It showed evidence of the Vex plans to harvest Earth and its people. "We know the Vex are coming to finish what they started." Grant's message continued. "We have tracked their probe. We have monitored their communications. We know their plans. The message change, showing glimpses of humanity's preparations. Massive warships emerging from hidden docks, soldiers in advanced armor, weapons of incredible power. For those who wish peace with humanity, know that we seek the same, Grant said. But to the Vex and any who would threaten our existence, hear this. We are humanity. We know you're coming. We are ready and waiting. The final image showed Earth, not broken and abandoned as the Vex probe had reported, but surrounded by a defensive sphere of warships and orbital platforms. The Lorendi merchant watched in stunned silence. Then it quickly began contacting others. This message would change everything. In deep space, aboard the Vex command vessel, Fleet Commander Vrax watched the human broadcast with growing rage. Impossible, he hissed to his officers. The probe reported the planet was dead. His second-in-command analyzed the message. The humans have been hiding, preparing. They knew we were coming. Vrax slammed his fist down. It doesn't matter. We have 5,000 ships. They cannot stand against us. But deep inside, doubt began to grow. The humans showed technology that matched or exceeded Vex capabilities. How had they advanced so quickly? Continue as planned. Vrax ordered finally. We will crush these humans and take what is ours. Back on Earth, in the central command bunker, Reed watched the reactions pouring in from across the galaxy. Some alien species were offering alliance. Others were declaring neutrality. A few, allies of the Vex, were making threats. The Vex fleet is maintaining course, reported Colonel Lopes. ETA 26 days. Reed nodded. And the other part of our plan? Dr. Wright smiled slightly. The technological demonstration was included in the broadcast, exactly as planned. The Harbinger energy signature was clearly visible in the background data stream. If their scientists are any good, they'll detect it and understand what it means. And if they don't? Asked the council chairman. Then they'll learn the hard way, Reed replied quietly. Across Earth and throughout the hidden colonies on Mars and Europa, humans watched the broadcast of their own message. After years of silence, of hiding and preparing, they had finally shown their hand. Some felt fear knowing that war was now inevitable. Others felt pride that humanity would face this threat united and strong. All felt the weight of the coming days. The die was cast. The message was sent. Now they would see who had truly learned to be afraid. The Vex fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system exactly as predicted. 5,000 warships, each bristling with weapons, moved in perfect formation toward Earth. At their center, the massive command ship carried Fleet Commander Vrax and his elite troops. From his position on Hammer Station, Admiral Grant watched the enemy approach on the holographic display. They're not even trying to hide, he remarked to his officers. They still think we're weak. Commander Jones nodded. They're maintaining combat formation, but haven't deployed fighters yet. They're confident. Grant allowed himself a small smile. Good. Confidence makes you careless. He turned to his communications officer. Signal General Reed. Operation Thunderstrike is a go. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Reed received the message and immediately activated the Global Defense Network. All units to battle stations, he ordered. Prepare surface defenses for reveal on my mark. Around the world, massive sections of Earth and sea began to shift, revealing hidden weapon platforms. In orbit, satellites that had appeared dead for years suddenly activated, their surfaces opening to reveal weapon arrays. Colonel Lopes monitored the enemy's approach on her screens. They're scanning our defenses now. Their speed is decreasing. Reed nodded. They're confused. Good. Dr. Wright, status of Harbinger. Dr. Wright, standing at her own command station, checked her readings. Fully charged and ready, General, waiting for optimal firing position. Reed took a deep breath. After years of preparation, the moment had arrived. Send the activation code to all defense forces. Launch the fleet. Across the solar system, hidden doors opened. From the dark side of the moon, from the surface of Mars, from the clouds of Jupiter, and from deep within the asteroid belt, humanity's warships emerged. 800 ships, each built with technology derived from the ancient ruins, moved to intercept the Vex fleet. Aboard the flagship *Defiance*, Captain Mark Wilson led the Earth's main battle group. All weapons hot, Wilson ordered as his ship accelerated toward the enemy. Shields at maximum. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, forming a three-dimensional net around the approaching Vex ships. Aboard the Vex command ship, Fleet Commander Vrax watched in disbelief as human warships appeared from hiding places throughout the solar system. "Impossible," he growled. The probe detected nothing. His tactical officer's voice trembled. "Commander, we're detecting energy signatures from these vessels that exceed our own capabilities. And there's something else." The officer paused, eyes wide. "The humans have deployed some sort of energy field around their fleet. Our forward scanners can't penetrate it." Vrax slammed his fist down. "It doesn't matter. We still outnumber them 6-1. All ships, attack formation. Target their largest vessels first." The two fleets clashed in the space between Mars and Earth. The Vex fired first, thousands of energy beams shooting toward the human ships. But the beams hit the new shield technology developed from the ancient ruins. Instead of destroying the human vessels, the energy dissipated harmlessly. "Shields holding at 92%, reported Wilson's tactical officer. "Minimal drain." Wilson nodded. "Return fire. Target their forward ships. Let's show them what we've learned." The human fleet fired as one. Beams of blue-white energy lanced out, cutting through the Vex shields as if they weren't there. 20 Vex ships exploded in the first volley. On Hammer Station, Grant watched the battle unfold. Human ships were taking damage, but far less than expected. The Vex, however, were being decimated. "They're adjusting their shield frequencies," Jones reported, "trying to adapt to our weapons." Grant nodded. "As expected. Time for Phase 2. He opened a channel to read. "General, they're responding exactly as predicted. Request permission to deploy Harbinger." In the Earth Command Center, Reed received Grant's message. "Permission granted," he replied. "Dr. Wright, initialize the Harbinger sequence." Wright's fingers flew across her control panel. "Initializing now. All stations report ready. Targeting the Vex command ship." On screens throughout the command center, a countdown began. In space, the battle raged. Though outnumbered, the human fleet was holding its own, the advanced technology evening the odds. Suddenly, all human ships began to pull back, creating distance between themselves and the Vex fleet. Aboard the Vex command ship, Vrax sensed a trap. "What are they doing?" "All ships, pursue." His tactical officer shouted in alarm. "Commander, massive energy buildup detected from the human homeworld." Vrax turned to the view screen just in time to see a blinding light emerge from Earth's North Pole. A beam of pure white energy shot into space, passing harmlessly through the human ships, but heading straight for the Vex fleet. Evasive maneuvers. Vrax screamed, but it was too late. The Harbinger weapon had been deployed. The Harbinger beam struck the center of the Vex fleet. But instead of destroying ships, it created a sphere of swirling energy that expanded outward. Vex vessels caught within it didn't explode. They simply stopped. Engines died. Weapon systems went offline. Life support continued to function, but nothing else. On the command bridge of his flagship, Fleet Commander Vrax watched in horror as 2/3 of his fleet became dead in space. He pounded his control panel. "What is happening?" he roared. "What have they done to our ships?" His science officer worked frantically at his station. "It's some kind of targeted energy field. It's shutting down all our offensive systems, but leaving life support intact." Vrax stared at the view screen. The human ships were moving in, surrounding the disabled Vex vessels. His mighty invasion fleet was now helpless. "Prepare my escape vessel," Vrax ordered quietly. His second-in-command looked shocked. "Commander, you cannot abandon." Vrax cut him off with a gesture. "I'm not abandoning anyone, but the humans are coming for me specifically. I can sense it." As if to confirm his words, all communication systems on the command ship suddenly activated. A human face appeared on every screen. "Fleet Commander Vrax," said Admiral Grant, "your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are useless. Surrender now." Vrax snarled. "Humans have no authority over the Vex. We do not surrender." Grant's expression didn't change. "Then you force our hand. We will board your command vessel in exactly 5 minutes. Any resistance will be met with lethal force." The transmission ended. Vrax looked around at his officers, seeing fear in their eyes for the first time. "Prepare for boarding," he ordered. "The humans will not take this ship easily." True to their word, exactly 5 minutes later, flashes of blue light appeared on the command deck of the Vex flagship. 20 human soldiers in powered armor materialized, weapons ready. At their center stood General Reed. "Fleet Commander Vrax," Reed called out. "Step forward." The tall Vex commander rose from his chair, towering over even the armored humans. "I am Vrax. You have used trickery and deception to defeat us. There is no honor in your victory." Reed's face hardened behind his helmet visor. "Honor? You attacked a peaceful mission without provocation. You planned to harvest our planet and enslave our people. Where was your honor then?" Vrax had no answer. Reed gestured to his soldiers, who quickly secured the bridge and the Vex officers. "Your fleet is disabled but intact," Reed continued. "Your crews are unharmed. We could have destroyed you all, but that is not our way." "Then what do you want?" Vrax demanded. Reed stepped closer. "We want you to deliver a message." 3 days later, in Earth's orbit, a ceremony took place aboard the human flagship *Defiance*. The UDI Council, military leaders, and representatives from every former nation gathered in the large command hall. At the center of the room stood Vrax, now without his armor or weapons. Behind him, on the massive view screen, the remaining Vex ships were visible, gathered in formation but still under human control. Admiral Grant addressed the assembly. "Today marks the end of the first interstellar war fought by humanity. Our victory was complete." He turned to Vrax. "As agreed, we are releasing you, and 1/3 of your fleet to return to your homeworld. The rest of your ships and crews will remain in our custody for now." Vrax's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "And the message you wish me to deliver?" General Reed stepped forward. "Tell your leaders, your people, and any other species who might think to threaten Earth, that humanity is no longer hiding. We are no longer divided. We are no longer technologically inferior." Dr. Wright joined them, holding a small device. "This contains data on the Harbinger system, enough to prove what it can do, but not enough to replicate it. Tell them we have deployed similar systems throughout our solar system and beyond." Reed continued, his voice firm. "Tell them that we seek peaceful relations with all species, but we will not hesitate to defend ourselves with every means at our disposal." Grant finished. "Tell them that if they come in peace, they will find friends. If they come for war, they will find only destruction." Vrax took the device. For a moment, the mighty Vex commander seemed small. "And if they do not believe me? If they send another fleet?" Reed smiled grimly. "Then we will be ready and waiting." Again. 1 week later, the released Vex ships departed the solar system, escorted to its edge by human vessels. As the aliens accelerated away, Admiral Grant and General Reed stood on the observation deck of Hammer Station. "Do you think they'll be back?" Grant asked quietly. Reed watched the distant lights of the departing fleet. "Not the Vex. Not after what we showed them. But others might come. Some for peace, some for war. And we'll be ready for either," Grant said with certainty. Reed nodded. "Humanity has earned its place among the stars, not through conquest, but through the will to survive, to adapt, to overcome. As the last Vex ship disappeared from view, a message came in from Earth. New alien vessels had been detected approaching the solar system. Not Vex, but representatives from 3 different species, including the peaceful Lorendi. They came not with weapons, but with offers of trade, knowledge, and alliance. Humanity's warning had been heard across the galaxy, and the universe would never be the same.